Good afternoon, everybody. This is Christian Roberts. I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be discussing fluorouracil acting as an RNA synthesis inhibitor and the mechanism of the action. So before I begin, I just want to kind of go over the basis of what fluorouracil is. It is a component of uracil, and uracil is basically a DNA component that is actively involved doing DNA synthesis regarding cellular proliferation. So what I want to say is fluorouracil has another name which is 5-FU or the most common trademark which is Adrasil, and it's used to treat many forms of cancer, specifically colon cancer, breast cancer, and any organ associated with the digestive tract. So that's like the small intestine, the liver, and the large intestine. So what it does is it basically inhibits a specific enzyme to prevent DNA synthesis or RNA synthesis from going. So as I move on, I would like to go into the metabolism of fluorouracil in cells. So Fluorouracil, like I said a few seconds ago, is a trademark Adrasil and is metabolized into multiple active forms within the cell. So basically, there are three different analogs that fluorouracil can convert into, but the most common one is fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate. But then the other two I would like to identify is fluorodeoxyuridine triphosphate and fluorouridine triphosphate. Those are the other two, and they play a big role. But the main common one is fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate because phosphate because eliminate phosphate, and that is the most essential. And as you see right here, you see how 5-FU, which is fluorouracil, is being converted into either is into triphosphate, or it's going to be converted into the fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate. And what it does is it specifically antagonizes an enzyme which is called thymidylate synthase. So thymidylate synthase plays a crucial part. It produces thymidine, which is a main component of DNA. DNA. But since we're talking about RNA, it's different. So during the inhibition of the thymidylate synthase, it disrupts the nucleotide pool balance, which will affect RNA synthesis. So if I go back to this slide, how you see how once this is inhibited, RNA synthesis and everything else that comes with it is going to be messed up and it's going to be wrecked, like, sabotage. And then keep in mind, like fluorouracil, that uracil. That's because fluorouracil has uracil components into it. It's able to have the strength to inhibit the uracil as well. So as we proceed along, I also want to talk about the mechanism of fluorouracil inhibition. So F-dump is classified as an active metabolite of fluorouracil, which is basically F-dump is fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate, and it's a stable complex with thymidylate synthase. And this complex prevents the conversion of deoxyuridine monophosphate to deoxythymidine monophosphate. So it prevents the conversion from one analog to the other analog. And all of these are precursors of thymidine. So if there is a reduced availability of thymidine, then DNA synthesis will more likely be impaired and lead to cell death. DNA synthesis and RNA synthesis would be led to cell death. And this is regarding cancer. And keep in mind, like I said earlier, cancer cells is all about cellular proliferation and cell growth based off of cell division. So as I proceed along, this is the photo of the mechanism of action. See how once the 5-FU, which is the fluorouracil, once enters into the cell, the synthase of this specific enzyme will disrupt DNA synthesis, and it would disrupt that enzyme to convert into thymidine. So once that thymidine is converted, that means the cell will no longer be replicated. So that's what basically happened, just to prevent that cancer from spreading. And then as I continue on, like I also want to kind of go over what we learned today. I want to talk about the conclusion of future predictions. So don't have the future predictions on here, but I will say that the percentages have changed compared to the 50s. Like when the prescription first came out in the 50s, it was only 40 to 50% that really actually received the help that they need. But according to as of 2024, it's over 85% who has depended on fluorouracil based off that specific enzyme. And it's crazy enough that this specific enzyme supports cellular proliferation, supports cellular growth, cell division. It supports those things. So in order, and mind you, keep in mind, it's a component of DNA. Cellular respiration, cellular proliferation, and DNA synthesis have a good relationship. So I also want to talk about the formation of a stable complex between F dump, which is the monophosphate, and the synthase. It disrupts the balance. So the whole nucleotide balance would be thrown off. And that's the only reason, that's the only way for the cancer to stop spreading or to just, or this whole cell itself to just die off. So, like I said, thymidine and uracil, keep in mind, for RNA is uracil, but for DNA it's thymidine, and it changes. So that's why we have fluorouracil, because fluorouracil is that component for RNA, is the substitute for thymidine in DNA. So with uracil, they needed something to have that same resistance as uracil does. So that's what I conclude with this. So all I can say is, for what I've learned, for what I have spoken to y'all, that go to your doctor if you have any complications regarding your colon or your breast or anything digestive related. Go to your doctor and ask them about it. And then it's okay to even kind of spread this information or what you learn yourself, because at the end of the day, you're there for yourself. So it's nothing wrong for you to ask your doctor for information. And also, like I said on the other presentations, make sure that the doctor, whoever doctor you speak with, make sure they care about you for you and not because of statistics. Make sure that make sure that they actually listen to you, actually hear what you're feeling, and actually understand where you're coming from, just so they can be specifically and tell you exactly what to take. Because if you take a certain amount of medication, it can also lead to the cell and the body could naturally start resisting to it where it won't be able to work. So it has to be given, or it has to be dosed. It has to be given as a dosage within a certain time. That's the only thing that I would say on this. But other than that, a lot of people's lives have been saved based off this specific medication. Personally, my father had colon cancer when back in the 80s when he was in high school, and he was on Adrasil, and when he was 70 years old, he was taking dosage like twice a day. So I know this from personal experience. So I'm not just speaking based off of what I research. I'm speaking based off what I've known and based off of what I've seen in my family. So I hope everybody enjoyed this presentation. Oh, and before I actually close the video, this is my resource society for the photos that I've showed y'all and also for the information that I said. Like I said, I hope y'all have enjoyed this presentation, and and I wish you the best, and make sure to stay healthy and stay happy. Thank you.